So I thought this evening I would talk about how crazy it is to be human. And I think if any of us are honest, if we spend any time at all in meditation, we find quite quickly that we are quite crazy. And the reason I say that is if we just notice the thoughts that come into our mind, we find all sorts of crazy, wild, bizarre, random thoughts. And for most of us, we take these thoughts to be ourself without question at all. And as a result, we create a sense of reality. And this reality we're willing to defend with a righteousness, with a what else do we have besides righteousness? With judgments, with opinions. And most of it's nonsense of what we think. And the judgments we form, those judgments also are often nonsense. They're simply based on our past conditioning. And as long as we believe in it and take it to be real, we are going to live in the world of karma. We're going to live in the world of suffering. And so our invitation always is to question what we think, question what we believe, question the very nature of mind. And like late last night around 11:30, I was driving home. I was doing about a 7-hour drive coming home from retreat in Boulder with my teacher Ajya, and I was going 74 miles an hour. And the reason I know that is because a police officer pulled me over. And he said, "Do you know how fast you are going?" And I didn't really have much of an idea. I had a sense. And he said, "Son, you're going 74 miles an hour, and the speed limit is 50. And I said, "Okay." And he wrote me a speeding ticket for $180. And I said, "Wow, okay." And I came home today, and I wrote a check to the municipal court for the town of South Fork, Colorado for $180, and put it in the mail, and that's the end of it. Now the person sitting next to me, after I received the ticket, said, "Aren't you going to get mad?" And I said, I laughed and said, "No." Because what would be the point? What would be the point of me getting angry? I mean, I have full permission to get angry at myself for driving too fast, for not paying attention, for not being mindful. I have full permission to be upset with the police officer for giving me a ticket and not letting me off with a warning. I have full permission to think all kinds of thoughts like, I don't deserve to have this ticket. It's the middle of the night. What difference does it make if I was speeding or whatever? But as long as I engage in any of those thoughts, I'm going to have a hard time. Like I had a good friend once get, I think, the same ticket that I got, and he came over to my house and we had a nice dinner planned. There was going to be about 4 of us there, and for the hour and a half of our dinner, he talked the entire time about how he didn't deserve to get the ticket. But the thing is he got the ticket, I got the ticket. And if we can just stop and just allow that to be the end of the story, then we don't suffer. We just do what's necessary. And when we can stop and do what's necessary, we have all this mental and emotional energy that's freed up just to live our life, to enjoy our life, to enjoy this moment, to enjoy this beauty. But what we find is that most of us spend all of our mental and emotional energy just spinning out throughout the day in all these conflicts. Just constant conflicts of wishing life was different than the way it was, than the way it is. These conflicts are just spinning. I wish I was enlightened. I wish I was free. I wish I was more open. I wish the dog would stop barking. I wish my kid was quiet. I wish my boss was nicer. I wish I had more money. I wish people would leave me alone. I wish people would talk to me. I wish I had a family. I wish I didn't have a family. I wish I was married. I wish I was divorced. All these things, this constant conflict just tends to be spinning in our mind. And oftentimes there's not only one conflict, there could be multiple conflicts within ourselves. Some conflicts don't even make any sense at all. Like I had someone come to me once and they said, I'm so happy that this person is out of my life. And I said, that's great, that is wonderful. And then they proceeded to tell me how hurt they were that this person was not talking to them any longer. And I didn't even know how to respond. It's like, how do we respond to that? Because, we have all these voices within us, and one voice will say one thing, a different voice will say another thing, we'll have an emotion that will say something else. And it just breeds this insanity within us. An absolute insanity. But one of the ways that we can work with the insanity is we can question it. We can ask it. Ask ourselves, is it true what I think? Is it true? And what we find is that the majority of what we think cannot stand up to that one question. And when I say ask, is it true, I mean, is it absolutely true? Do we know it 100%? So if we have a thought about reality, what happens normally in most of us is we have a thought and we believe it, we automatically identify with it and take it to be the truth, and then base our whole life upon this thing. But if we're really honest, we have no idea where this thought came from, what it is, or if it's true. And that's a pretty crazy thing to base our life upon. And like when we're in a relationship, we have all these thoughts about our partner. They should be this way or they should be that way. They should love me more. They should speak more. They should speak less. They should honor me more. But what if we lived in a different way? What if we had absolutely no expectation of our partner? What if we had no expectation of our friends, of our family? What if we had no expectations of life? Not many people want to do that. The funny thing is whether we have an expectation or not, life and people, our partner, are still going to be exactly the way they are. Whether we have an expectation for them to be different or not. The funny thing is if we don't have an expectation for them, of them, we can just love them for who and what they are. Whether they're bowing down at our feet and loving and adoring us, or telling us that we're the worst partner. If we have no expectation, then we're free just to love them. Like a lot of times when we have children, when they're young, and when they're babies, we don't have very much expectations of a baby. And so it's easy just to see this being and just be like, oh, I totally love you. Absolutely. It's so hard for our heart not to love a baby, a child. because we don't have any expectation of them. But as soon as we put expectations upon them, then it creates this wall between us and them, and then it's difficult for there to be love. And we make these rules like, I'll only love you if you are this way. And as long as we have these rules for our partner, for our kids, for our family, for ourselves, then it creates all this suffering, all this division, all this divisiveness. And so our invitation can we play with this idea, this practice of having no expectation? Can we step fully into it and see what life is like if we're not expecting anything of anyone? It's a wonderful thing not to expect anything of anyone. When we have no expectation, there's just a sense of space, a sense of peace, a sense of just that absolute love that we share with each other. There's this wonderful intimacy that can be there. So along with no expectation, we can let go of our need, because that's another expectation. Another form of expectation is a need or desire for people to be different. I need you to be a certain way. As long as you don't meet that need, I suffer. And it's such a silly thing, It's like being angry, Oftentimes we get angry at people and we think that it's like, I'm going to get them by being angry at them. The person we get is ourselves. We are guaranteed to have a horrible time when we're angry. And that righteousness of wanting to prove somebody wrong or prove we're right or whatever it is. To be on this side of the political fence, or it causes us pain. I met someone once, and he hated all of authority figures. And it's like, in this world, there's going to be authority figures, but if we hate them, we're the one with the problem. They're just doing their job. But we're the one with the problem. We're the one who's suffering. The same with our partners. If we have an expectation on them, we are suffering. When they don't do what we want, and then we're at the mercy if they do what we want. And it's a really unstable way to live. You're making me happy, I'm happy. You're not doing what I want, I'm sad. It's a very insecure way to live. It's a funny thing is to step into freedom, we have to be willing to let go of all of our thoughts, our ideas, our agendas, our opinions, our expectations. And step into the inherent insecurity of life. And when we step into it fully, we find this great security, this great ground, this great fearlessness. Like when I was listening to my teacher Ajahn speak the other day, he was giving this big talk, and there was 300 or 400 people there, and behind him, outside, there was a train going by, and it was just barreling by, and it was, honking its horn, and very loud, freight train horn. And he said, wouldn't it just be incredible if the train just crashed through here right now, and just, Wouldn't that be a wonderful way to go out? And he just let out this crazy laughter. And I let out this crazy laughter. And there wasn't that many people laughing, because most people were like, that is crazy. But when you step into this hugeness, when you step into this fearlessness, there's a sense that, yeah, wouldn't that be wonderful if it all just ended like that? Because we're not holding on to anything. If it all ended right now, it would be absolutely perfect. And yet, at the same time, a teacher like that is willing to show up 100% fully to life and meet everyone fully. And it's a beautiful thing that comes when we're willing just to totally let go. And there's just like a fearless sanity that comes forward. That's willing to meet whatever's here. That's willing to meet life so fully, so totally, that there's this feeling that if we died in this moment, that too would be perfect. That too would be okay. And of course, at the same time, it would be absolutely sad and heartbreaking. And so there's this wonderful paradox that comes from living fully. Through being totally and absolutely present with every single thing that's here. And we come into this fearlessness through embracing every aspect of ourself first. We don't come into this fearlessness through standing in front of a freight train. We come into it through embracing every aspect of ourself that's hurting, that's scared, that's afraid, that's wanting, that's desiring, that's hoping, that's fearing. And so our constant invitation is to embrace every aspect of ourself with a fullness, with the totality of our being. And not embracing it in a way that we're just trying to get rid of something, where we're trying to get rid of pain. But embracing it absolutely, completely.